Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March 2023 meeting of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. My name is Mary W. Sharp, and I will be serving as your chairperson today. We will begin this morning's meeting with a roll call. Mr. Ragsdale, would you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Fleming?
Here.
Can't hear you.
Ms. O'Connell?
Here.
Ms. Wilbanks?
Here.
Mr. Tolles?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Dr. Pritchard?
Here.
Vice Chair Wallace?
Here.
Chair Sharp?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the right podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out an attendance speaker's card located at the front podiums. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPD staff members located at the left of the podium. When that agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter on the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for a recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would like now to get approval of our minutes from last meeting. May I please have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Is there any discussion? Okay, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any director's remarks today?
We do not.
No? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Ragsdale, may I please get a secretary's report for this month and an explanation of today's procedures?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a secretary's report, so I will go into the procedure. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask if the board members have any additional questions of anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, enter a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party for additional clarification, a motion will need to be made along with a second, and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to open the public hearing portion of the agenda item. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and take a final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required of applicants since their names are already part of the public record.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments please be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive so as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. Lastly, I'd like to ask you to please silence your cell phones so as not to interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceedings. I will now move to the consent agenda. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right, Mrs. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 19 as the consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of these items individually, please come forward and give us the item number and we will pull that case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, will you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 1, case MJR 22-67 in Buckingham Farms. The request is a convenience store with gas pumps at the northeast corner of East Shelby Drive and Hacks Cross Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 2, case PD 2023-005 in Whitehaven. The request is a rezoning of approximately .355 acres from residential single-family to commercial mixed-use at 1110 Byfield Drive. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 3, case MJR 23-03 in Whitehaven. The request is a time extension for SAC 13-701 to close a portion of Coughlin Drive between East Brooks Road and Stonebrook Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 4, case SD 23-01 in Whitehaven. The request is to dedicate a portion of Stonebrook Avenue and Sandbrook Street. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 6, case MJR 23-04 in Windike adjacent. The request is a major modification to revise certain setbacks and density requirements of the Callis Cutoff PD at 3220 South Germantown Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions, and Mr. Ragdale has additional comments.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Yes, the applicant wanted us to read into the public record an agreement that they have, a private agreement with the adjacent property owner. And so they would like the record to reflect its agreement with an adjacent owner to construct homes of a minimum 2,000 square foot size within the development.
Item number 7, case MJR 23-5, which is downtown. The request is a surface parking lot at 1 Beale Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 8, case PD 23-02 in Messick Bunton. The request is a planned development to allow 4 residential lots on approximately .35 acres at 824 Sims Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 9, case PD 23-03 in Raleigh. The request is a planned development to allow youth counseling offices, computer, recreation, and training facilities at 4870 Raleigh Common. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 10, case PD 23-04 in Victorian Village. The request is an amendment to the Adams Orleans PD to add event center as an allowed use at 707 Adams Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 11, case S 23-08 in Whitehaven. The request is a 2-lot major residential re-subdivision of Lot 14 of the Whitehaven Heights subdivision located on the south side of Hale Road west of U.S. Highway 51. Staff recommendation is approval with 6 conditions. Item number 12, case S 23-11 in Colonial Acres. The request is a 4-lot commercial re-subdivision at 4571 Quince Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 13, case S, okay, never mind, excuse me. Item number 14. Case SUP 23-01 in Cordova. The request is a special use permit to allow an indoor shooting range at 7999 Club Center Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 15, case SUP 23-2 in Parkway Village. The request is used vehicle sales at 2607 South Mendenhall Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 17, case Z 23-03 in the Pinch District. The request is a rezoning of approximately 0.5 acres from heavy industrial to mixed use at 463 North Front Street. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 18, case Z 23-04 in Southeast Memphis. The request is a rezoning of approximately 21.4 acres of conservation agriculture to employment at 5591 Pigeon Roost Road. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 19, case ZTA 23-01. The request are amendments to the Memphis and Shelby County Unified Development Code to update certain provisions applying to off-premise signs, introduce a voluntary cap and trade exchange program whereby eligible non-conforming billboards may be upgraded to digital technology provided a certain number of other billboards are removed in the exchange. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. That is your consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. We have pulled item number 5. We pulled item number 5.
13 and 16.
Really? Okay, item number 5, 13, and 16. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with one vote, subject to the recommendation of DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only items number 5, 13, and 16 will have full independent public hearings. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its findings and, where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please? Do I hear a second?
Well, hold on. Is everything okay?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yes. All right. Move to approve item number 1, case MJR 22-67 as a hold. Item number 2, case PD 2023-005 as a hold. Item number 3, case MJR 23-03 as a hold. Item number 4, case SD 23-01 as a hold. Item number 6, case MJR 23-04 with the statements made by Mr. Ragsdale. Item number 7, case MJR 23-5. Item number 8, case PD 23-02. Item number 9, case PD 23-03. Item number 10, case PD 23-04. Item number 11, case S 23-08. Item number 12, case S 23-11 as a hold. Item number 14, case SUP 23-01. Item number 15, case SUP 23-2. Item number 17, case Z 23-03. Item number 18, case Z 23-04. And item number 19, case ZTA 23-01 as a hold.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume that we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we will go to Dr. Pritchard for the regular agenda.
Agenda item number 5, PD 23-6, formerly SUP 22-33, Alcee Ball, convenience store with gas pumps at 2453 Elvis Presley Boulevard. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, is the applicant here? Okay, would you give us your name and address?
Yes, ma'am. It's Ethan Sandiford, 3853 Highway 61, Cleveland, Mississippi.
Okay, thank you. Is there any opposition here? Is there any opposition?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we got one. Okay, we'll hear the case now.
Yes, ma'am. Brett Davis, Division of Planning and Development. This case was heard before you last month upstairs under this case number SUP 22-33. This is a proposed convenience store with gas pumps at the northwest corner of Elvis Presley and Alcee. You may recall. We have a new set of design standards, site planning design standards for convenience stores with gas pumps that require special use permits, which require either that the pump canopy be structurally integrated into the convenience store or that the pump canopy be behind the convenience store. In either case, we have a 20-foot minimum maximum front setback. That wasn't fully possible here. The applicant didn't want to put the pumps in the back, and there might have been other provisional issues with that. We have a 125-foot minimum setback for pumps from residential zoning districts, which this is immediately next to the west. Here's a zoning map and a land use map. And the issue with the structural integration in the front is that the state has rules that require the pump canopy be set back at least 25 feet from state routes, of which Elvis Presley is one. So after the applicant discussed with the board, they have refiled as a plan development, which would allow the canopy to be over 20 feet from the right-of-way if placed in the front without running afoul of zoning standards. It would allow them to change the zoning standards while still meeting the state standards. So I do have an updated site plan here from them. I did do a brief review of the site plan in the report. I mean, we've still got several issues here in terms of landscaping and level of detail, but The issue with the 20-foot rule is technically nullified by the refiling as a PD. And we don't have a direct issue with that in this case. Although we do have a general issue with the use here, we are still recommending rejection. I have received a set of elevations from the applicant, which are included in your staff report as well. It would be a metal building with a front brick facade. Our standards would require, and the conditions of this PD as recommended would require this to be a fully masonry building and to have windows on the Alsea side. The only other update I have for you since last month is that we have since received 4 letters of opposition. I'm available for any questions and further discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of Mr. Davis? Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the applicant to make your presentation.
Well, good morning. Just wanted to go back to this page on the staff report here. It's page. There's quite a few pages here, Brett. Let's see. Page 19 on the staff report, just stating if approved, that we would have to follow the outline plan conditions. And we have no problem with that. Also, I know we've received some letters of opposition from the neighborhood and people of that community. We want to be as minimally invasive as possible to the neighborhood, but also offer some benefit to them. So we've offered, if you look at our site plan, we've offered to put a 10-foot wood privacy fence around the property that would kind of shield the residential parts of the neighborhood from even seeing a gas station. Along with that, the landscaping, we've proposed to put grass along the roadways there, but also I had mentioned to my draftsman in my office that we could also kind of line that fence with some Leland cypress trees, which can grow up to 6 to 8 foot wide and up to 40 foot tall. Essentially, the residents of that neighborhood wouldn't even know a gas station was there. That would also cut down on a lot of their noise pollution from Elvis Presley Boulevard and Alsea, depending on where they live. So we want to be as accommodating as possible, and with the canopy and the storefront and covering the building in masonry, that's not a problem. Along with the windows on the Alsea side, that's not a problem at all. Just like I said, trying to be as minimally invasive as possible to the neighborhood while also offering some benefit. With that neighborhood, I know that there is a Dollar General next door and 2 gas stations across the street. But we've proposed to put a restaurant chain. My clients have pretty good connections with Subway and stuff like that. So we could possibly offer a Subway at that location or something like that, but also a grocery and deli. So, if anybody needed something up to midnight at night, they could go in there and get a bag of cough drops if they needed to, or just some items that you may not find in a typical gas station. Along with the convenience store side of it, you would also be able to purchase gas and fuel and everything like that. So I think, it would be a benefit to the neighborhood, and I just hope y'all can see it that way.
Is that the end of your presentation?
That's it. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Any questions of the applicant? Any questions of the applicant? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the opposition. We have 2 in opposition. Just come on up and give us your name and address one at a time. We have a Johnson and a Harkins. Give us your name and address.
Good morning. School Board Commissioner Frank Johnson. The address is 1473 Compton, Memphis, Tennessee, 38106. I am president of the Alsea Ball Community Association. We do not want another gas station in our community. There are 2 gas stations right across from this location. We also fought off another attempt a year and a half ago when there was an attempt to put a similar gas station in the Prospect Park community, which is our sister community. We have already been compromised due to our proximity to the Defense Depot. We are still struggling with health issues and environmental justice concerns. We do not need another gas station. And it seems like our community is being set up to be a sacrifice zone because there has been no city-sponsored development in our community since these communities were created. And it seems like our communities are being opened up for developers like this to come in and build what they want, no matter what it means to the community. So the Alcibal community and its sister organizations stand against this construction of this gas station. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Next, name and address.
My name is Seth Harkins, address 2336 Silver Street, 38106. Would echo everything Mr. Johnson has said. Stand opposed to the construction of another gas station there. The building and its aesthetic as it stands is a former dry cleaners. I don't know if the environmental issues related to that have been remediated already or if that is a plan that's in place, but that's a concern that I've had for reuse of that building. We would like to see something that would meet needs that are not already met right across the street, and then would like to see a little bit more creative, adaptive reuse of the existing structure instead of being demolished with the gas station canopy, despite the shielding and the potential for having mature trees there and things like that. But the legacy of that building, what it means for the neighborhood, would be great to see adaptive reuse instead of just demolish and reconstruction. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions of the opposition at this time? Okay, hearing none, applicant, we're ready for your 3-minute rebuttal or your rebuttal.
I understand their concerns of pollution or maybe something more creative or anything like that. But that's what you've got right now. I just want that to be known. That's kind of an eyesore. I wouldn't want that by my house. But anyway, for the pollution, they're afraid of the runoff or something like that. That's something that can be very easily mediated. We could put a grading system around the fuel canopy. So any runoff that comes from people that may overfill their gas tank or something like that would automatically take them to a holding tank. That's something that we can put underground to hold any fuel runoff or anything like that. So that would kind of eliminate the environmental impacts that they think they have, I guess. For the creative aspect of it, I don't see that you can go to Dollar General probably after 9 or 10 o'clock, where we would be open to midnight or later if you needed to buy some toilet paper or bottled water or anything like that. It's just, like I said, we want to benefit the neighborhood, and I think replacing that would be a big help. But if there's anything, I offered it, in the beginning of this process, we sent an email out to the community members and stuff like that, just offering, if you don't want a gas station, can you, offer some opinions, because these guys want to develop and want to help you. But then again, if you don't offer me any insight on what you may want in your neighborhood, then I'm going to do what they want, what my clients want. So they want to build a gas station, and I've kind of mediated with the neighborhood and you guys too with the Land Use Control Board on trying to confer back and forth with my client and say, hey, let's, landscape this area a little better, or let's shift the canopy back from the roadways and stuff like that. And he's okay with that. I would, like I said, I would want to get rid of that eyesore, but some may want to keep it. So I'll let y'all make y'all's decision.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do you have any questions of either the applicant and or the opposition?
Yeah, I do. What has there been any conversation about what they would want to see in the neighborhood?
Who is that?
The opposition.
No, sir.
No,
sir. There was no response to my email.
Okay.
I mean, I'm giving you a golden ticket, you won't take it. You name what you want. If it's a, halfway grocery store.
Yeah.
I can help. I can help get it there. I just I need to know that that's what you want.
Yeah,
I can't make your decision for you, you know. So,
understandable.
Any further questions?
I did for Mr. Harkins or I didn't know, I didn't get your name. I couldn't remember your name on the opposition.
Johnson.
Either you guys want to step up to the mic and, say what, if anything that proposing to be. Please give your name and address.
Good morning, former Councilwoman Terry Dockery, 1527 West Lund Drive. So I am 9th generation, also ownership into the Alcee Ball community, and respect every component of this. So I'll probably be more of the mediator in this thing. What I will say is there another view that you can show? So let's back up for 1 second. Now, this is a corner in which they are asking for, let's do another view, and another view, and another one. That's the last one. So there are 2 gas stations, one on the left, one on the right. The parking is already ridiculous when it comes to that area. On top of it, it is because we are dealing with a crime issue right here in the city of Memphis right now, with another store staying open late, even if it's in conveniences of people. Right now, we're dealing with crime and numbers being where they're out of control. So adding more opportunities for things to happen for a community that is really searching and seeking for help right now would not, one, be conducive not only to the neighborhood, but to the city. The second part of that is, yes, there are other things that could possibly be done to help to negate this process or to move this, but to add another opportunity for strife right now would not be healthy. The next thing is they are dealing with issues, dealing with the defense depot right now currently. But if we add other opportunities to create more of a problem, then that does not give a resource, nor does that give the citizens in that area an opportunity to have what they have actually already petitioned the city for. So on behalf of both entities, I will say that there should have been, or there needs to be, a genuine conversation of not only the needs, the desires, and the wants for the community, but also to see what is needed to carry the community, not just a simple gas station. And I think if you all would just take all of it in consideration, not only the board, but also the development team, the developers, and of course, the community, look at every aspect of it, because it really could be something so much beautiful versus just a simple gas station. And again, there have been several wrecks on this property, on these 2 properties, as it relates to incoming, outcoming of traffic dealing with those gas stations. So adding another one right there, that would just be incohesive to what needs to happen. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Fleming, you had a question?
I guess we ought to let the process go through, but I do have a couple of comments. I guess so we've heard from the applicant. I guess we're voting next, is that right?
I haven't closed the public portion yet.
Okay.
Any other questions first for the applicant or the opposition? Okay, hearing none, we're ready to close the public portion of the meeting. Dr. Pritchard?
Move approval of agenda item number 5, PD 23-6, formerly SUP 22-33.
I have a second. Is there discussion?
Madam Chair, just a couple of thoughts. The applicant came last month, and I really appreciate his attitude and just the way he was so forthright with us. It's obvious the neighborhood does not want this. I don't know how the vote's going to come down. I really don't. But you've said that you haven't been able to connect with the neighbors. There's 3 right there, and I know Mr. Harkins well. He runs the CDC, is that right? And those are the 3 leaders right there. I don't know. Can we hold this another month?
Yes.
I would just suggest, my thought is if we hold it 1 month, y'all get together. If you can come, I love the building. I don't want to scrape it. I think what you're putting down there, putting back, proposing is not an architectural gem. It's not much of an improvement. I'd love to see, if you're really serious about it, meet with these folks, come up with a use, and the numbers have to make sense. On the flip side, if it doesn't make sense economically, then he'll just have to bring to us what he's proposing, and we'll have to vote on it. But I would suggest we hold it for 30 days, let this gentleman have some time. If you can work something out, great. Then if not, bring it back next month and let's vote it up or down.
Madam Chair,
So I'd propose a 30-day hold, please.
and I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to hold it for 30 days. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Can we do that? Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, we're gonna assume we're ready to vote on the whole. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll see you next month. Okay, Dr. Pritchard?
I will vote again.
We'll go to, Madam Chair, to agenda item number
13.
13, if I can get over here. This is S23-12 Coro Lake, 3-lot major residential re-subdivision of 1701 Alsea Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Okay, is the applicant present? Can you come up and give us your name and address? And is there any opposition? Yes. Okay, give us your name and address.
Hello, Seth Harkins, 2336 Silver Street.
All right. Okay, we're ready for the staff presentation.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Board. This is S2023-012. This is a 3-lot major subdivision on 1701 Alsea Road. It's at the corner of Alsea and, hold on. Let's try this again. It's at the corner of Alsea and Manchester Road. It is just to the northeast of the airport area in the Alsea Ball neighborhood. To the right is 2 vicinity maps. One that shows where the site is exactly, and the other one to the right is outlined in green, shows the 500-foot radius for the notices, which over 100 was sent out on February 23rd. This is a map of the zoning and map of the land use. It's currently zoned residential R6, and the land use is surrounded by single-family residential. These are just some site photos of the vacant plot of land. This is the proposed 3-lot subdivision of said subject property. All lots meet the R6 bulk regulations, and they're all size between 7,500 and 10,700 square feet. The subdivision is compatible with current land use regulations and has been found consistent to be with Memphis 3.0 general plan. And there also staff has conditioned the recommendation being approval based on these 7 conditions. And I'm available for any questions if you have at this time.
Is that it? That's your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Any questions of the staff member at this time? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the applicant to make your presentation.
Hello, good morning. Thank you. My name is Seth Harkins. I'm the director for the Alsea Ball Development Corporation. We've been working in the neighborhood. I have been working there since 2016. And as we have met and gotten to know many of the neighbors in the community, have found just the legacy of home ownership to be such an important part of that community. So many that are retired teachers, business owners, professionals that own their homes or second or third generation homeowners. So that's the legacy that we have wanted to tap into and support, and to do that in a way that would support affordable homeownership for the next generation. So we just graduated 14 from a homeownership training program that we host right across the street at our office training space. And so some of those folks are from the neighborhood, or they have moved away from the neighborhood and would like to move back. And so we're proposing this subdivision as a place that we could build in partnership. About a year ago, we were accepted into the Community Housing Development Organization program under HCD. And so that is how we're able to build something in today's economic environment and still make it affordable to folks that have graduated from training. So we're not just dropping somebody into a home. It's not going to be Section 8 rental or anything like that. It'll be a home that's for sale. And then we've read over the conditions that were proposed, that we would bring the final architecture, I believe, before this body, or at least before the DPD staff, to include some minor changes to the original floor plan that we had proposed. But we do believe this is really in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, and appreciate all of the hard work that so many of our neighbors have done to maintain the legacy of homeownership in the Alcee Ball community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of the applicant at this time? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the opposition. We have 4 cards. Please come up and give us your name and address and give us your presentation.
Good morning again. Board Member Frank Johnson, President of the Alcee Ball Community Association. We stand in opposition to this project because, again, like I stated before, our communities have been stripped of resources over the decades. We have been left ill from the Defense Depot, and what we are tired of in our community is organizations being planted in our communities. This organization, the Alcee Ball Development Corporation, is not a community organization. It was planted in our community by Second Presbyterian. And we are tired of people coming into our communities and telling us what we're going to have. When these communities were at their peak, Alcee Ball, Castalia, and all of the depot communities, they were run by people from those communities. Our communities were redlined. Our communities have been stripped of resources and continue to be. I'm pretty sure that all of you are familiar with the Edge Board report that just came out about how $35 million was taken away from our communities that was supposed to keep our communities from falling into disrepair. And those funds were used in other parts of the city. What we are tired of are people coming in and telling us how we can run our communities. We are tired of it. We are tired of our bodies being used to raise money and then being told that we don't have access to that money that was raised on our bodies. We have the power in our communities to create a community. This development, if it goes through, will lead to massive displacement. We have several elders in this community that are barely hanging on. And once those houses get built, those property values are going to skyrocket. So you have homeowners that will be removed from their houses because they can't afford to pay the taxes. I am 3rd generation. I inherited a house from my father that he moved into in 1959. We deserve the right to decide the economic future of our community without other people coming in and telling us what's happening or what's going on or what we're going to have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Sherry Wade. I live at 1495 Compton Avenue, but the Wade family owns 2512 Bridgeport Drive, which backs into this proposed subdivision. I am here representing several generations of people. My father being the oldest, 97, and those of us who have experienced Black ownership interaction with this city since the Crump era. I have taken their comments and put it in a response. I will read it. We stand opposed to 1701 Alcee Road subdivision, not just as a single infill development that will expose our already vulnerable, marginalized, disinvested community to further unwarranted risks and pressures, but as a project to set a precedent that will open the door for a larger planned, multi-phase infill plan to increase low-income housing density to the maximum capacity available and predicted future availability of property or land in the Alcee Ball community. I have 106 properties that was identified by Seth Mark Harkins and the Alcibal Development Corporation, ready for infill. This plan will affect all depot communities in some way or another: Magnolia, Castalia, Elliston, Mallory Heights, Hamilton, Gaslight, and Prospect. For the suspect purpose of creating a residential sacrifice zone to absorb displaced populations from South City, Soulsville, Glenview South Parkway, and Orange Mound. We stand opposed to this board, the Planning Division, the new Housing Community Development City Shodo Division, the Edge Board, and supporting organizations like United Housing and Build Memphis, in apparent cooperation with the Alcibal Community Development Corporation and all other alien CDCs like the ABCD in our communities to make these alleged slum projects realities. We know what subsidized housing means for us. Going back to the foot homes that were subsidized housing, when we heard subsidized housing, that's what we hear. Project, slum, sacrifice zone. We hope this is wrong. We hope we're wrong about this, but we don't think we are, because Memphis 3.0 does not include any planned investment, not even our own taxpayer dollars, to support growth and sustainability in the Alcibal community, nor in the other depot communities that I named. In fact, the city has already designated and is expanding a warehouse distribution zone with the Army Depot Superfund site as its hub in the center of these communities. While at the same time, Memphis 3.0 is fully invested in South City, Soulsville, Glenview, South Parkway, and Orange Mound, which will trigger a mass displacement of residents in these history-filled, culturally infused Black communities, which will also increase poverty, population density, and the conditions for crime and violence in the Alcibal community, which will make our community a shooting gallery for the Memphis Police Department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have two other speakers.
Minutes left.
Okay, you have 3 minutes left.
Madam Chair, if I may, I believe that I handed you all the cards. I thought they were all opposition. I think there may be one in support. So what I would recommend that we would get through the opposition, and then we could let the support speak. I believe Ms. Reed was here in support, and I didn't hand them to you separately, so I apologize for that.
So we're going to hear.
Okay.
We're going to hear.
All right,
her,
we're ready, Ms. Dockery.
and then we'll do this one as support.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What did you request of me? My name?
You
I'm sorry.
have 3 minutes.
Okay, I don't need that long.
Okay.
Terry Dockery again, 1527 West Lund Drive. So the problem that, and I don't want to look at it as a problem, we're going to say the compromising issue with this is, as first, and I am still understanding to both sides of this, is the first thing is that it was originally the Alcibal Community Development, and then it changed somewhere along the line where it became Alcibal Development. So the one biggest issue of this is that you took a situation with community-based people and you turned it into something else. I understand business, but I also have to understand that we're talking about not just principals and teachers who've retired. We're talking about attorneys. We're talking about formal councilmen, commissioners, board members like yourselves, and some of the most leading Black African-American people to a community to move the city to where it is or wherever it is going now. Beforehand, however, because even while sitting in council this past appointed time for me, I received a call sitting in that chair where Miss Jennifer is sitting now from Mr. Frank, where there were chemicals coming from up underground that I had to get up out of my seat and run upstairs to see an engineer to get a team over to the Alcibal area. My only concern with this all is because I am a sister neighbor to the immediate community, even though I still own properties in the community. The problem with 106 or 109, 109, I counted properties that Mr. Self has examined and looked at, and I understand the development for the community, I do. But I also believe that in the midst of doing this, we have to think about this. So put yourself in this situation and then I'm gone. If someone moved into your community and then developed a project and then changed the entity of it without you all knowing, then it would take something that is personal meant for you, and then it would go into something that is conglomerized. So then it does not become personal anymore. I do understand business is big business and money is that. However, we have to be considerate because we all have to get older. And you don't want to necessarily be displaced or issued out an issue of health based on something wanting to develop itself. However, they're dealing with currently right now with engineers coming into the community to just get that situation from the Army Defense Depot under control. Before you unravel soil, tear it up, bring all of whatever is going on underground up surface to the top, when you're building, you have to consider the seniors that are in that community and their health as well. So I'm not saying that this is over. What I'm saying is just let's be cautious of how we move forward in thinking of this as a solution. Thank you again.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions of any of the opposition right now? Okay, hearing none, I want to hear from the person in support, Diane Reed, and then we'll hear back from the applicant. Give us your name and address, please.
Good morning. My name is Diane Reed. I live at 1545 Dottie in the Alcee Ball community. I came there in 58 when the house was built, my parents, and I was raised there. So my support is simple, that I was raised there, I moved away, but I came back. I lived right next door in Gaslight Square when I got married, but I came back home to my home house, and my children were raised there. And now my grandchildren are being raised there. So I love the Alcee Ball community, and I love seeing houses built, nice homes built, and houses being renovated so someone can have them and they won't sit there looking like dilapidated or anything. But my grandson, who's 23 years old, went through the home buyers program with the Alcee Ball CDC, and he was able to purchase a house at 23 in Alcee Ball. And I'm just appreciative to that, because a kid learning finance at an early age and then able to own his own home, even though it's a little 2-bedroom home, it's a nice home, and it's teaching him how to live. And I would like to see more of that. People coming through the Alcee Ball homeowners program are learning finance, they're learning how to own their own property, and for us to have some property for them to own is a wonderful thing. Now, I know that there may be, I know that there are some other issues, but I'm gonna still stay there. And I think it'd be okay for him to stay there. And I would like for him and his legacy to not forget where we started, where we came from. And I just thank Alcee Ball CDC for offering that opportunity to me and my grands. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, we're ready for the rebuttal from the applicant.
Thank you again. I do not enjoy being in opposition to my neighbors, my elders, and to those who've helped form this community. But I do believe that this is for the long-term best interest of our community to have more established homeowners that we will do this in a way that is clearly it's visible. It's on the hill on Alsea Road as you come up from the elementary school. But when this is said and done, it will not stand out. We'll continue to make homeownership an option for future generations, and just for many who are coming to us that want to have an opportunity to own something that is going to last for a long time, which is what we'll build, and then something that will be affordable. And we're thankful for the partnership with the city and other donors who helped make that happen. And then we're working on the long-term strategy to make homes stay affordable even after the first owner lives in and sells them, so that there will always be a place families can build equity, but be able to do it without so much influence from the outside housing market. So I really appreciate and take to heart the opposition. I believe that the opportunity for home ownership in the Alsea Ball community will continue to be a benefit there for many years to come. So happy to answer any questions, and appreciate your feedback.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant right now?
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
Is it made up of the people who live in that community?
So the staff is myself. I've lived there for about 4 years now. Ms. Diane works part-time with us. Mr. Logan Tyree is Director of Development there. And then he does not live in the community. And then Mr. Michael Gardner works full-time for us as a homeownership trainer and realtor, does not live in the community. And then our board is made up of 2 members from Second Presbyterian Church, a pastor who lives outside the neighborhood but was born and raised there, and then 2 ladies that live in the community now.
Okay, so they are community, and I take it that the people who have taken their time to come down, none of them are part of your board or your organization?
We have worked together on things in the past, and we have opposed each other in the past, as we continue to do.
I noticed that today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Any other questions? Hearing none, then we're going to close the public. Do you have something else to say?
If I could share one more item, the projected cost for these homes would be in the $200,000 to $230,000 price range for each home. And with the investment from the city, we would be able to sell the homes closer to the $125,000 price point, but not have severe restrictions on who is going to live there. So we do think that the investment is we can't solve all of the problems that do exist regarding the Defense Depot and money that was extracted from the community there. But with what we do have, we want to offer that in the best way we know how. So thanks again.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Hearing none, we're going to close the public portion of this meeting. Dr. Pritchard.
Move approval of agenda item number 13S23-12.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion amongst our board members?
Yeah, I guess to the Alsea Ball community in total, there has to be a conversation with everyone about everything that's going on. I think a sense of transparency has to be there for you all to be cohesive. If you didn't want a gas station, what do you propose? If you don't want houses, what do you propose? It was another community that we had came amongst us as the board, and they didn't want new development. Well, everybody in that group was, maybe 60 plus. There's an aging community that will go. We all will go at some day, some point. If there is no reinvestment back into the community, that community dies when you die as an elder or younger. There has to be some way or somehow to have a conversation about what's next, what's the development plan, where do we go from here? As I'm hearing it, everybody's just opposing each other. We don't want this, we don't want that. Let's have a conversation. My thoughts on this is to, push it back and hold it another month, and maybe everybody get together and work through your differences about what's to come for the neighborhood. So my proposal is, put this on a 30-day hold along with the other that we already have in the Alcibar community as well.
Okay, have we exhausted our holds, or we still have another hold available?
We still have holds available.
Okay. All right. It has been moved and second that we hold this for another month, so we're going to vote on that particular motion. Is there any discussion on that motion, since we have a motion and a second? No discussion?
I will add to that guys, please get together outside of there and have that conversation, exchange numbers, emails to talk. Please do, because I don't know that coming back here, again, is going to change much if you guys haven't changed much. Us as a board, we are going to make a vote one way or another. We're just trying to allow you guys the opportunity to be cohesive and understand each other, to work through differences or problems that are arising amongst the neighborhood.
Well, we've closed the public portion.
I'll come out there and talk to you.
Okay. All right, we are ready for the vote on the hold. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries for a 30-day hold. Thank you. Dr. Pritchard.
Yes, agenda item number, Madam Chair, 16. Z2302 Millington adjacent. The rezoning of approximately 15.15 acres from residential single-family RA to conservation agriculture, east of Center College Road and south of Aycock Road. Staff recommendation is approval.
Thank you. The applicant present, would you please come up and give us your name, address, and then we do have opposition and we will hear this case.
Great.
Go ahead.
We are Blake Spurgeon and Patrick Coons. We're with Silicon Ranch Corporation. The address for the company is 222 2nd Avenue South, Nashville, Tennessee.
Thank you. Okay, staff, we're ready for the presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Teresa Shelton with the Division of Planning and Development. Have before you case Z 2023-002, rezoning of approximately 15.15 acres from residential single-family 8 to conservation agriculture east of Center College Road, south of Aycock Road. Okay, here is an area view of the property in question. The residential 8 section is going to be right in this area right here. And I guess I should have moved my star down a little bit further. But it'll be this little section here that's actually zoned residential 8, and the rest is conservation agriculture. You can actually see it here on the existing zoning map here. It'll be this little section here. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the applicant actually owns all of that property there. This is just a land use map kind of showing you what the uses are around. If you look in this section here, there's already a solar farm there. It's approximately probably about, I think I got 4,072.3 feet from the subject site. So this is a current solar farm that's already out there off of Bethel Road, right at the corner of Center College and Bethel. So there's one there already. And this is just that site that I just showed you from an aerial view. This is a substation, I guess, for it. It's off the road, behind the fence. If you look at this view here, and that's on Kerrville, I think, Rosemark, or Rosemary, something like that, Rosemark. Okay. Here we have an overall site layout of what this will look like once it's completed. It's the rezoning exhibit, and I will let the applicant probably explain that a little bit more to you, but it just shows where they're rezoning from R8 to CA. And this is just showing, I guess, the property owners, Ronald and Mary Diane Rounds. And in conclusion, the applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 15.15 acres from residential single-family 8 to conservation agriculture. Purpose of this request is to rezone from the residential single-family, to allow for a solar farm. This request use is compatible with the future land use description and intent of the location. It does not propose any injury or damage to the use. My recommendation is approval. Any questions from me? I am here.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shelton. Any questions of Ms. Shelton right now? Okay, hearing none, we are ready for the applicant to make your 10-minute presentation.
Thank you all so much for letting us be here today. Like I said, my name is Blake Spurgeon. This is my colleague, Patrick Kuntz. And before you have a packet, I believe Teresa passed out to you, and we've got some information about our company, who we are, what we do, as well as this particular project. But as I mentioned before, we're Silicon Ranch Corporation. We're based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and we're a utility-scale solar developer. And this project, as you can see, we're partnering with TVA to bring clean, reliable energy to the grid. And as Teresa mentioned, we have one project out there currently, and this is an extension and another project that will go right beside it. But if you flip to page 2, where it says in-house expertise, a couple things that differentiate us from other solar developers are that we develop, design, fund, construct, own, and operate all of our projects. Meaning, from start to finish, we're the people you talk to. We don't outsource our projects to anyone else. We don't sell off our projects. We own every single asset that we have. And so we currently own this land. And what that means is we have a responsibility to care for that land. We have a responsibility to invest in the community, be good neighbors, and take care of that land. On the next page are a couple quick facts just about solar in general. As you can see, solar farms, solar fields make a significant investment in the community with minimal impact on roads, schools, or other public services. Nearby residences are not affected by glare because solar panels are anti-reflective and designed to absorb light. Meaning, so if anybody lives nearby the solar farm, glare is not going to come off the panels. Naturally, we want to capture as much sunlight as possible. And so the way our solar panels are built, they're anti-reflective, capturing all that sunlight, not producing glare. And it's a virtually silent operation. If you're 500 feet from an inverter, it sounds like typical suburban nighttime. So it's not overly loud, not causing much noise. And then lastly, it has no impact on adjacent property values. We've had a couple studies completed in Madison County, Tennessee, and in Moore County, Tennessee, showing that a solar farm has no impact on adjacent property values. Then on the next page, I mentioned earlier, these projects inherently are economic development projects. And so there are economic benefits to the communities that they are in. First off, these are substantial capital investments where we have a preference to hire local workers for construction. And then lastly, it increases the tax base. And so we are putting millions of dollars into additional tax revenue without impact on roads or building a bunch of houses or things like that, providing substantial tax increases. And I'll let Patrick get up here and talk a little bit more about the project specifically and the rezoning we're here for today.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Kuntz. I'm the project developer for this project. So if you could please turn to the project detail slide. I'd like to just kind of shed some light on the project itself. So we've already acquired 960 acres for this project. About half those acres will have direct development on them. This project's origins is we're contracted with the TVA to build a site that can generate 75 megawatts of power. And because it's a TVA project, it first has to go through a very thorough environmental review. This is subject to the National Environmental Policy Act, which is a framework of environmental regulations. So before we're ever allowed to build, we have to search for how will this affect endangered species. We have to stay out of jurisdictional wetlands and streams. We have to look for cultural artifacts on site. So that was about an 18-month process that was completed in August of last year. We received our finding of no significant impact. So that's the environmental permit for this project. And when we go through that, that's kind of our constraint. So we map, there's wetlands here, we have to stay out of them. There's jurisdictional streams. So we try to avoid development in anything that would negatively impact the environment. So the layout you're seeing here is done with all those environmental considerations in mind, and that's how we kind of come to this footprint for the site. If you turn to the next slide, the rezoning details, really the reason we're here today is of the 960 acres we bought, almost all of it was already Zone CA, which you're permitted by right to build a solar farm. It's one of the reasons why this site was selected. Just 15 acres of this is zoned residential. So we need to, that's why we're here. We need to get that rezoned to CA so we can put panels on those 15 acres. If we couldn't build those, if we had to move those 15 acres of panels somewhere else on the site, it would be to a part that's more environmental sensitive. So it's really vital that we're able to place solar panels on those 15 acres. And then we had a community meeting February 28th, Millington Primary Elementary School. We went over the project with the community, listened to their concerns, tried to have an understanding of any opposition, and we've created a website for the project. There was a lot of questions about keeping the community posted on construction timelines and kind of just in a general overview. So we've built a website for this project to keep the community updated on our progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have two people in support. We'll hear them now.
That was us.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, any questions of the applicant? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the opposition. Give us your name, address, and presentation.
Good morning. My name is Dottie Ray. I live at 8195 Armour Road in Millington. And if you go back to that first slide where it shows the purple, you'd be able to see, keep going. See the little L shape up there at the top? That house up there is mine, up at the top, all the way to the top. Right here. That's my house. The solar farm currently is going to completely surround my house. Where they're proposing redistricting to conservative agriculture is a direct line site from my backyard to them. We expressed the other night that we're concerned about the unsightliness of all these panels surrounding my home and how it's going to bring down property values. And I know they're saying, studies say that it's not going to bring down property values, but most of the studies concerning property values where solar farms are concerned were done at the request of solar companies, not at the advantage of the people and the neighboring people that live next to solar farms. So they don't know how it really impacts people that live next to farms. And I asked them the other night, if you completely surrounded that house, y'all are all standing here and you're promoting this solar farm and how great it is, which one of you would buy a house next to a solar farm? So I'm asking all of you, which one of you would buy a house surrounded by a solar farm? I'm not against solar. I'm for solar, I'm for wind, but I'm against it being right next to my property line. They said they would plant a screen, they would plant vegetation. Well, if you flip through the screens and you look at the pictures, you can see how high the vegetation is, that they're community friendly. they had goats over there, they've got sheep over there. I understand they got to cut it somehow, but this is taking prime farmland that was grown for food and cotton, corn, staples of this community, staples of this country, things that we need, and it's taking it out of service. It's putting hundreds of acres of solar panels in our neighborhood. Now, again, I'm not against the solar, but when they put the current solar farm where it currently is, they put the poles across our property line. They had to cut down all the trees to put the poles up. Well, that opened up that space where I can directly see where they're asking to rezone it so that they can put panels there where I can directly see it from my backyard, from my swimming pool. Now, I'm against some of the things that have to do with solar because in December of 22, the U.S. Department of Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Justice announced more than $1 million in penalties against companies for polluting local waterways. The culprits were 4 solar farms in Illinois, Alabama, and Idaho. Now, around my property, you can see a tree line. That is Casper Creek. Casper Creek runs into Big Creek, which runs into the Mississippi River. Big Creek is currently fixing to undergo I think it's $4 billion project from the federal government to expand Big Creek into a farm park, kind of like Shelby Farms. It'll be 14,000 acres with a 7,000 acre lake. All of this water runs into the Mississippi River. According to healthyjournal.com, it is recommended that you live at least 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles from a solar farm. I'm mere feet from this solar farm. Let me see what the other one is. Studies have shown that heavy metals in solar panels, namely lead and cadmium, can leach out of the cells and get into groundwater as well as affect plants. These metals have also recorded detrimental effects on human health. Now, where we live, that little L shape is farmed. We farm that property. At one time, the farmers planted cotton. There were certain chemicals sprayed on that cotton that we were concerned with affecting our health. They told us it was all safe, but lo and behold, our daughter was 3 years old and she became ill with a blood disease called idiopathic thrombocytopenia, directly related to the chemicals that they were spraying on the cotton. So we no longer allow cotton to be planted on our property. I don't think it would be advantageous for me not to stand here and tell you that I'm concerned about what's going next to our property and the effects it's going to have on our property and our health. We're probably going to be the ones affected most by what's going on here. And again, I would ask you, if any of you lived where I live and you could directly see these solar panels, and there's no way to block them because they can't put a screen up where they put these trees down to put the poles up, so they can't block my view on that side. Which one of you would buy my property?
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions for the opposition? Any questions for the opposition? Okay.
What she said.
Hearing none, we're ready for the rebuttal of the applicants. We're ready for the applicants to come back up.
I appreciate a lot of those concerns. If I lived out in the country and a big development was going in, I'd have a lot of the same questions. Specifically, where her house is, all of our development is on the west side of the creek. That's one of the reasons we need to put panels there. If we had to move those panels, it wouldn't alleviate her living next to any panels. If we had to move panels, there's a chance we'd have to put panels in a flood zone, which is we want to avoid for community concerns. So respectfully, where we've got this project designed is to alleviate environmental concerns as much as possible, which would help the surrounding community. And what we've tried to do in situations where people are close to our solar panels, we do everything we can to listen to their concerns. So she's right, we're not going to be touching any trees between her house in Casper Creek, so there will be a screen. Our panels are not right next to her property line. And And, we always try to be creative. So if there's extra trees we can plant or anything we can do to alleviate any concerns, we're always happy to do so. And then our panels do go through the EPA leaking test to make sure that they don't leak into the soil. It's a very vigorous environmental review process we go through. She mentioned some concerns about another solar company. I can't comment on that because I'm not familiar with it, but that's not our company. So I'm sure in any industry there's some bad actors, but our company has a pretty great record of working with communities and working to minimize environmental issues with our projects.
Regarding property values, like Patrick said, we can speak on our company and the things that we've done in our track record to become one of the premier solar developers here in the Southeast. And so if you flip to page, towards the very end there, the real estate impact analysis, due to the communities wanting to understand how our solar panels would affect their property values, both in Madison County and in Moore County, we did have an independent study done. So this was completely independent of us, and we hired somebody to do a property value study in both places, and both studies found that solar panels do not affect property values. And that was out of concern for those communities as well. So thank you all.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from either the applicant or the opposition? Do you have any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. And Dr. Pritchard, if you'd give us a motion.
Move approval of agenda item number 16, case number Z 2023-002.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Is there any other announcement?
No, ma'am.
Okay, hearing none, we're going to adjourn this meeting at 10:20.